Well, hello everyone. I'm really sorry I'm not there with you today, but I have to say I'm honoured and delighted to have been invited to say at least a few words, even though, to be honest, I feel that my own role in the history of the rather magnificent history of the Sheffield Centre has been quite minimal, even minuscule. Still, I am part of the history, and hence Surimati very kindly invited me to say something. And what I'll say to begin with is that it's all Verdanya's fault, which is to say that it was Verdanya who persuaded me, or asked me, or pressured me, what word, maybe he can come up with a word, to move with the small group of us who were working at that time in Windhorse Publications from the Norfolk area, mainly from Norwich and Padmaloka, where I was living, to Sheffield. It's fair to say that Sheffield was a place I'd never been to, knew nothing about, and if I had any impressions, they weren't, to be honest, very favourable. But after visiting the city with Verdanya and with Vajranatha, who very kindly and importantly offered us a very friendly mortgage to buy a property, I discovered that the city was fantastic, the surrounding countryside was beautiful, and an absolute playground for somebody who loves nature and walking, and that this could be a place where we could all be very happy. So yeah, very willingly I concurred, and not long after, Verdanya, Shantavira and I got into a Luton van along with all our belongings and chugged along the roads from Norfolk to South Yorkshire and set up camp in Crooksmore Road. Although we moved to Sheffield to create some kind of working base for Windhorse Publications, it wasn't long before at least some of us managed to find the time to run some classes down at the university, I think in hired rooms in other parts of the town, and then of course in our front room in Crooksmore Road. This sort of effort was greatly boosted when Advaya Chitra and Punyamala moved to town, literally just down the road, where they still are. And soon people, some of whom you will recognise because they still populate our Sangha in Sheffield and elsewhere, began to come along regularly and get involved. Meanwhile, the publication side of things continued, but the community side of things started to dwindle. And truth be told, we definitely looked into the possibility of giving up on the project simply because it was an unsustainable option financially. However, step in Sucidi. I was up at the time in Glasgow working with a team of women who in those days ran the marketing and distribution and design for Windhorse Publications, staying at Herrica. And one evening I came back from a meeting with them and found Sucidi sitting in the enormous cavernous main room of that rather grand establishment, rather grand but crumbling establishment. And he said, Nagabodhi, I've decided I'm going to move to Sheffield and I'm going to invite Amogavangsa and Smriti Ratna to join me, and we're going to come down and do Buddhist activities. I honestly couldn't believe my ears. I mean, it was such wonderful news. It was wonderful because it meant that we could stay in Sheffield and carry on living there and working there. And by then, Shantavira and I were deeply attached to Sheffield. And by then, of course, such as it was, there was a little Sangha beginning to come into existence. And although we were both very busy in our publishing work, we had some involvement with it. Of course, there was Advaya Chitra and Punyamala, obviously, who would have been rather bereft if we moved away. So suddenly this extraordinary piece of news was put in our lap. And in very short order, Sucidi, Amogavangsa and Smriti Ratna moved in. Suddenly we were a community again, and of course classes could go forward. Mainly downstairs in the living room, but over the following months and even years, the Sangha did start to find its life, find its feet. After 6 very happy and productive years in Sheffield, the Venerable Sangha lassoed me and dragged me off to Marjamaloka. But I have to say that in the years since, it's given me huge pleasure and no little inspiration to watch the Sangha in Sheffield evolving and growing and developing into what is clearly one of the most exciting, active, energetic Sanghas that I'm aware of in the movement. So, I mean, I send a huge sadhu to you as a Sangha, and I send a huge sadhu to you in the celebration of the 10th anniversary of the wonderful centre that you managed to create up there in Walkley, which I've always enjoyed visiting, and I really hope it won't be too long before I'm able to visit the centre and you again. So I'm sending lots of love, lots of good wishes, lots of congratulations to you all. Bye-bye for now.